What's up, everybody? Once again, it's drive time. Got a heck of one today. So, I had briefly heard about this whole situation at the track meet where the young man got stabbed. And then I started to see the whole typical Facebook post where they try to make one side look like they did nothing wrong and then make it look like the other side was completely victimized. And I noticed both sides were doing this. So initially, I was irritated at the fact that people were pretending like it's just okay that this young man took a knife to a high school sporting event. That was my initial irritation, and the fact that they were trying to glance over that part. So then I decided to listen to an interview of the father of the victim. And he said, despite his very he made a lot of efforts to try to paint this out like it was just some unfortunate tragedy that shouldn't have happened. But even with him omitting what he could to protect his side of the situation, he still gave more than enough information for you to be able to surmise what happened. So he says, per the accounts of his surviving son, the twins, his sons, were at a track meet in the bleachers. It started to rain. They put up a tent. They hear somebody talking. Remember what I said the other day about people not being able to people not being able to handle words. They heard somebody talking. One of his sons turns around and says, "Who are you?" He says, "I'm so-and-so." He says, "You don't belong here." Remember, we had a school event with multiple high schools, all in the same stadium for a track meet. This means it's public seating. There's no such thing as where you do or don't belong because it's open. If you ever been to a sporting event, seating is always open, especially when you got multiple schools, venues, or whatever there. So we already know off the rip, dude is wrong. Ain't no such thing as you don't belong here. Now they've been trying to spin it to, well, but he was under our tent and we have personal belongings there. That would have been the same if the tent wasn't there. So now you're trying to say because there was a tent up, you've claimed a section of the bleachers. I'm sorry, that's not how it works. So then, per the dad, he says words were exchanged, but he's not gonna get into that on camera. I wonder why. Probably because once your son started mouthing off, he mouthed back and they exchanged words equally, which never needed to happen. And if it was any adults around, and I'm pretty sure it was, because I think in another interview I heard a woman talking about this situation. So they didn't say that this happens and they going back and forth. He says the young man told him, reached in his bag and said, "Put your hands on me and see what happens." Now, I'm going to be honest. I understand not everybody is from the same background as me, so you don't have the same spatial awareness as me, and you don't understand what certain phrases mean or certain gestures and actions and anything. But I'm going to just give you a word to the wise for anybody who might need it. If you are ever in a situation and a person reaches in their bag and says, "Touch me and see what happens," don't try to see what happens. Don't try to see what happens. Take them at their word. If they reach in their pocket and say, "Don't put your hands on me, it's going to be a problem," it's going to be a problem. They told you. They told you. So then, according to accounts, because the other interview that I listened to with the woman, she said the guy went to grab the young man. Now, remember, these two boys are twins, and if I remember correctly, they both are football players, and the one in this altercation is a football player and a track athlete. So it's not like he no little guy. He's got a twin brother. He's in a section with his friends, and they all trying to tell this other dude by himself where he can and can't sit. He basically saying, leave me alone. I don't have nothing to do with y'all. Now, last I checked, when you got multiple attackers, you can use an equalizer. But the thing that I noticed about society today is they want you to just wait and get beat up first and then defend yourself. Or just get beat up and then hope the court handles it later, or just hope you survive. But what I never see in these situations is the adults stepping in and saying to these kids, hey, shut your mouth. Hey, mind your business. Hey, keep your hands to yourself. And no matter how many kids die from it, these dumb adults still think that it's cute to let their kids try to be superheroes, and then when they get killed, then they want to turn around and play this woe is me thing. I'ma be honest, as a parent, I still barely can find sympathy for these parents, because you're not doing what's necessary to keep your kids safe, which in this situation would have been, tell that boy to sit down and shut up. You don't own a school. You don't own a bleacher. You don't own a field. Probably didn't own the tent you was sitting underneath. All you need to do is turn around, watch the action, and shut your mouth. But no. He wanted to be vigilante justice because he wanted to decide where people did and didn't belong. And then he decided to play a game of mess around and find out. And he found out. And too bad he got the top prize. And it sucks. The only person I really feel bad for, really, is the two boys who survived this. Because one, the young man is going to have to live the rest of his life understanding that he took the life of another human being. That's not going to be an easy thing to go through. It's not going to be an easy thing to go to this court thing, because he's going to have lawyers and prosecutors trying their best to make him look like the most vile person on the planet. And from what I heard about him, he's actually he was a very smart kid. He was an athlete as well. He was, by all accounts that I've heard so far, he was a typical, he was a typical young man on the right path, but apparently had some of these tendencies to try to dip and dabble into a life that wasn't his. And I want to look up the schools that they went to, because I'm really curious as the demographic of the two different schools that they came from. Because that was their claim, was because he was from a different school, he didn't belong where he was. So I'm curious about that, but it's going to suck for him to have to go through that. And it's going to suck for the twin who spent, to this point, his entire life with somebody side by side. And I believe they even played football together. So they was clearly probably very, very tight. It's going to suck for them. It's going to suck for the parents, both sides. It's going to suck for everybody. It's never okay when somebody loses life. It always sucks. But my issue is, these things are so avoidable. They're so avoidable. Because if it was any adult around there, they could have just told that boy, shut up, sit down. You don't own these bleachers. Ain't no assigned seats. But they didn't. And this happened. And it reminds me of that situation in Wisconsin where the same thing happened. And it's like, as a society, we just don't learn. Like, if you don't know about the Wisconsin river stabbing, it was where a guy was looking for something in the river. a bunch of high school kids decide they want to start mouthing off to this guy and antagonizing him and recording him for WorldStar. Their words, not mine. And then another group sees this, and the adults send more kids over to intervene, like they police or something. And the guy in that, his justification was, my boys help out at the bar. We own a family bar, and they help out as bouncers sometimes, so they're very equipped to defuse a situation. Are they at work right now? First of all, shame on you for putting them in that position in the first place. Pay a bouncer, dude. You putting your kid in a position to deal with bar fights. I don't care if you do live in Wisconsin. Bar fights, my guy, them's one of the worst things you could try to be in. And you gonna put your kids in it? My son's 18. My son's trained with professional MMA fighters. I'm not about to turn him up to be a bouncer. He joined the military. Give him structure on that, but even then I wasn't like pushing him into it. It was a decision he made. And even he had a situation one time where he was sitting at the park with one of his friends, and a guy who had an issue with his friend decided that he wanted to come and confront the two of them for the situation that had happened at the park. And this guy is with his mom, jumping up at the car, screaming, cussing, and at one point went to the driver's side and opened my son's car door. And luckily, I had trained my son to have restraint, and I've always taught him, you don't need to be out here fighting. If somebody put their hands on you, you got to do what you got to do, but you don't need to be out here trying to fight to prove a point. And since he trained with my brother, who is a fighter, my brother reiterated that same message. So he never was out here with this battery in his back trying to prove himself. So when the dude, got out of pocket, my son just got out and said, yo, if you open my door again, I'm gonna have to punch you in the face. And then he said, leave me alone. And he looked at the mom. This is the way he told me. It could have been a little bit different, but this is what he told me. And so then he got back in his car. Now, if that had been a younger adult that was just on that type of time, the second that kid opened his door, bang, 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 and it wouldn't have been nothing they could have argued about it, because your car is much considered like your domicile, in which if you ain't in a position to retreat and somebody breaks and enters, bang, bang, bang time. Could have stabbed him up. I know a lot of people that the second they open that door, bang, bang, bang time. A lot of people. And this dude's mom sat here and watched him do it. And then, if that would have happened, she'd have been the first person on the news. He's such a good kid. He doesn't normally do this type of thing. And I just want my baby back. But you don't do nothing in advance to keep him around. And the dad says that he told him he had to leave because he didn't belong there. And the guy says, again, put your hands on me and see what happens. He says, you gotta go. He says, I ain't going nowhere. Then stuff happens, and my son was stabbed. Stuff happens. Stuff happens. We know what stuff happens means. Your son decided that he was Iron Man, got up, went over to this dude, put his hands on him, and then the guy answered that call with his previous warning, which was, put your hands on me and see what happens. And I understand the grief, sort of. I've never lost a child, but I get losing somebody. I get losing somebody in a tragic fashion. I get being in a position where you have to watch a loved one take their last breath. I've done it. So it's like, yeah, my sympathy goes out to the result of the situation. But my sympathy is kind of hard. It's hard pressed for me to find it for the situation and the cause, because this could have been avoided. Y'all have gotten to a point, parents, that y'all refuse to do your job, which is teach your kids the fundamental basics of society, which are mind your business, keep your hands to yourself, you ain't in charge. You just not. So you got people out here stepping around thinking that they run public spaces, and then when something happened to them, everybody want to look at the person who got this person off of them or defended themselves or whatever as the person who's the most maniacal being on the planet, when it's like, what happened before this? Like, what was the lead up? Like, if you tell me that you was sitting minding your business and then a person was like, get out of here, and you was like, what? And they like, yo, get out of here, and then they just be like, fuck you, and pull out and start shooting, that person's wrong. Because you just said something, and you can't just shoot somebody for saying something. That ain't what this was. He put his hands on them. Y'all gotta stop thinking just because self-defense rules say it's supposed to be equal force that people gonna have that. And this is not me excusing people's reaction. This is me being realistic and saying you don't know what the reaction is gonna be, so why take the risk? My motto is this: there's the ideal and there's the reality. The ideal scenario is you could go up to somebody and say, hey, these are where we're sitting and we just want to have our stuff safe, and if you go over to your school, then that would be great. And then the other person says, oh, sorry, my bad, I didn't realize, with all the different colors and ours being different colors, but I'll just go. That's ideal. Or actually, ideal would be, hey, what school you from? Oh, okay, we from so-and-so. You want a water? That's actually the ideal. But the reality is, sometimes people sit where they want. And sometimes people ain't in the mood for other people trying to be in charge, especially if they had a bad day. And sometimes people definitely ain't in the mood to have hands put on them. And sometimes people waiting for it. A comedian once said, people be on that time, I wish you would. They wait for it. So if they on that and then you do it, congratulations. You just gave them. I've known people. I used to know this cat back in high school. And my man's, he had severe aggression issues. And he would literally go out in public and pick fights with people who did nothing so he could get it out. Like, he would walk by people in the mall and be on some what you looking at stuff. And if they said anything remotely back, he would reply, oh, so you want to scrap? You want to fight? And if they was about it, he was about it. Like, even when they didn't, he would try to egg it to where he could feel like he had an excuse to fight. So it's like, you gotta have the wherewithal to realize that some people just ain't calm like that. Some people don't know how to express stuff. And it ain't worth it for you to be putting your hands on people when you don't know what might happen. For this, I'm sorry. Adults, you gotta do better on this. You parents, you gotta do better on this. You gotta start teaching your kids to keep their hands off of people. You gotta start teaching their kids that they ain't in charge. I get a lot of y'all like to let the kids run your house, but even if you do, explain to them that the rest of the world don't revolve around them and their wants. And when they try to assert that it does, this can happen. I like I said, I think it's gonna be rough for that young man for the rest of his life, because he gonna have to accept the fact that he took a life. I think his court case is gonna be one of his worst nightmares, because they gonna smear and try to make him out to be the worst person on the planet. They already posting his mugshot, you know what I'm saying, to make him, because they want to make him look like this violent, angry, whatever. And it don't help that he a young black dude and he dark skinned, and the person who he killed was a white guy. Like, it, you know, that don't help at all. So you gonna fuel all these race warriors around here, and it's like, this could have been avoided. That twin brother is gonna have to remember every day for the rest of his life, it used to be somebody around with my same face that I hung with every day that's gone. And as one of my brothers said, because he did a video about this, he gonna second guess that for the rest of his life. Should we have just left him alone? Should we had even went to the game? Should we had just let him sit there? Why did he get up and put his hands on him? Could I have done more in this fight situation? Could I have gotten to him faster and broke it up? Could I have cared for him more when he was slipping away? Like, and again, this all could have been avoided had the parents, or even because the dad wasn't there, had the adults present just been more responsible. And I hope, I sincerely hope that this plagues them. I hope they look back and think, just like that twin is going to have to do, could I have prevented this? And the answer is yes. All you had to do was say, hey, it's okay. He can sit there if he wants. And if he was mouthing off, they could just say, hey. He can say what he wants, it's fine. Just ignore it. But they didn't. And now he's dead.